because perhaps they've missed it, or they enjoy going back and watching things because maybe you're like me and have ADHD and sometimes you check out for a little bit and then you're like, wait, what? That happens when I'm reading too. There have been many times that I've had to go back and reread an entire chapter because my brain, although part of it was reading, the other part was like, oh, squirrel. All right. So for those who are watching the video, we ask that you open up your Common Lit and answer question 1 of the reading questions to get us started. So that you have that open, or I should say that all of the text that we will be using in our example for today's activity will be open for you to copy the work over. So as a reminder, our expectations for class, please be polite, ask questions in the chat first. Say, excuse me, when you need to interrupt to ask a question with the mic. During our class discussions or activities and question and answer sessions, you can use the chat or unmute to respond to questions freely. It's up to you. I know some people are not comfortable unmuting because maybe there's a lot going on in their house right now, or they don't like the sound of their own voice. I don't like the sound of my own voice either, believe it or not. I hate listening to those videos that I make for you guys. It's absolute torture. And again, we're not going to use language that makes anyone else feel less valued or important. And we will work on being active participants in activities. And I do know that there are a few people who are having technical difficulties and are joining us via their phones. So I understand that those people may not be able to complete the Jamboard, but I would appreciate it if they would at least follow along and not completely check out. We're only going to be on it for about 6 minutes anyway. All right, so moving forward, our agenda for today, fairly straightforward. It looks like a lot, but it's all kind of chunked for us so that it's not too terribly bad. We are going to go over a quick announcement for everybody. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by somebody texting me. Review the week at a glance. And then we're going to introduce 2 new strategies for our nonfiction arsenal for Notice and Note. Those are quoted words and rhetorical devices. And I'm going to re-explain to you what we're doing with Notice and Note in a way that hopefully will help some of us who have been kind of struggling a little bit with it to understand what we're doing a little bit better. And then we're going to do a little practice Jamboard session. And then we have a little bit of an exit ticket for you before you take off for the day. All right, so with that on our board, our announcement, and some of us are probably freaking out right now because you're like, oh, wait, what? Parent-teacher conferences are the day after tomorrow. The rumor is that we are going to have an adjusted schedule for that day, which means that your classes will start at a slightly different time and end at a slightly different time. I don't actually have a copy of that schedule on me. Otherwise, I would share it with you.
I believe
but I will make sure that you guys have it. What's that, Gabe?
I believe they're tomorrow, which is Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? No, it is Wednesday. You're right. Stop, Skylar. My son is now over there doing the Days of the Week song for me, like a little snarky son of a. I can say that because I am the mother. You're right. I am wrong. We'll make sure you get that schedule, though. All right. So our live class schedule for the week is Tuesday, Thursday this week. On those days, we're going to be doing the activity with our Common Lit. I honestly don't remember if I opened up the Common Lit Danger of a Single Story for you for tomorrow or not. But ideally, you would be finishing up your Cultivate Resilience tomorrow. And then we'll start Danger of a Single Story on Thursday. The work for that, I will not start grading until Monday. So it's technically due Sunday evening or first thing Monday morning, really. So do not panic about that. Also, I will not be releasing scores on Common Lit because I believe when I release the scores on Common Lit, it goes into like this little no man's land, and then you have to go digging for it if you didn't do it on time. So I don't want you to have to play the where did my assignment go game. All right. And then Friday, you're going to have a little bit of a quiz over digital information. That is the stuff that we've been doing over the past few weeks with our ed puzzles and whatnot. So it'll be like some basic questions about lateral reading and those skills that hopefully you've been getting. So if you haven't been doing well on those ed puzzles, there are a few people, like right now, if you are not passing the class, it's because you're not doing well in your ed puzzles. Remember, you can go back and redo those. You have to send me a request. I do know that I have, how many right now? Oh, I only have one. I have one request that came in at like 7:45 this morning. I haven't had the chance to go in and unlock that for that person just yet, but I will do that after class so that that person can work on that today during the asynchronous times. All right, so that goes over our business, if you will. So we're going to be adding to our nonfiction notice and note. Remember, nonfiction are the stories that we read or the articles that we read that are like news or memoirs or biographies, opinions, things like that that are based in reality. So we previously talked about contrast and contradiction in extreme or absolute language. So what I'm going to tell you is that when we do these things, the reason we are looking for these signposts, if you will, or these different types of tools that the author is using is so that we can start to identify the evidence that we might need in order to complete a question at the end or write an essay or an analysis at the end so that we have all of that evidence that we need. So there's some questions that we can answer with specific types of evidence. So for example, we're going to be adding in today quoted words and rhetorical devices. So the idea is that if you remember back to our slide there with our agenda on it, one of the standards that's under the bottom, I had to rewrite it into like not teacher language, is that you have to be able to cite strong textual evidence. That's the summary of the standard, but it babbles on forever. But basically, reading for information and reading for literature have, I want to say, 9 and 12 standards between the two of them. So around 24 total standards, but they both have the same standard for number 1. And that is that you have to be able to cite strong textual evidence to support your answer in analysis of what the text says. So you'll see that almost every single time you read anything, it's going to ask you in some way, shape, or form to explain how the central idea is developed, or the article is persuasive, or how a character is developed, or something along those lines. They ask you about development or structure and things like that. So when we're looking at citing strong textual evidence, that's what we're trying to do. So with quoted words and rhetorical devices, the two that we're adding in today, the type of questions we can most easily answer with this, we can answer others, but these are going to be the two big ones, are how does the author develop their ideas, and what evidence do they use to support their claim? On the surface, these questions sound simplistic. Then when you sit down and you start writing, you realize this is actually kind of hard. because you have to know a lot of different things in order to be able to answer that question. You have to know, what is the idea? What kind of evidence are they using? What are they doing with that evidence? So think of it this way. If you were a true crime specialist and one of those forensic scientists, and somebody brings you this giant bag of evidence, and you're just sitting there like, okay, well, I've got a comb and I've got a toothpick and I've got like this tile that looks like it might have blood on it. None of those things mean anything to you just the way they are, right? I'm asking you a rhetorical question here. No. All right. They don't mean anything because they're all out of context. So when we highlight things and we don't explain what they're doing, that's basically saying, well, here's some evidence, but I'm not going to give you any context for it, right? So we have to be able to explain what that evidence is doing. So that's what we're trying to get at with your annotations, is you're saying, okay, here's a piece that I'm going to put in my little evidence baggie. I'm going to set this aside. This is what I think it's going to do, okay? So that, think about the annotation as kind of the evidence tag, okay? So with that, you're going to think about, what is the person, what is their motive, right? What is the person who's being quoted? When we're looking at quoted words, we're going to be looking for quotations. That's going to be easy. Just like when we did the words of the wiser, and we were looking for advice, almost always it's going to be in quotation marks. Occasionally, not often, you'll get an author who paraphrases somebody. But if they're going to take the time to paraphrase them, typically it's because they're like paraphrasing a whole huge essay kind of thing. But they're going to put some sort of direct quote in typically. All right, so we're going to look for those quotation marks. We're going to know that that is something that is a quoted word. And then we're going to ask ourselves, why is the person that they chose to quote somebody that I should care about? For example, I'm going to point out to you that in the article that we're reading today, the first time we get anybody quoted is a kindergartner. So why should I be listening to a kindergartner? Okay. So you have to think about, why would they quote a kindergartner? Like, what does this kid have to add to this article? All right. Why does the author think I need to know what that person is saying? All right. And then finally, what are they trying to do with this quote? Or how are they trying to add to it? Are they just trying to make their article longer? No. They're either going to try and persuade me, they're going to be trying to inform me, or they're trying to entertain me. So what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to help me build a connection by playing on my emotions, or are they trying to give me information to show me that they have followed a sequence of events here and aren't just playing it by ear? All right, so ultimately our goal is that on our little evidence tag of annotations, that we are going to be able to answer the question, how this evidence supports the claim or develops the author's idea. All right. So if you did your assignment from yesterday, then hopefully when I say the 5 following rhetorical devices, you at least know what 2 or 3 of them are and aren't completely lost. And if you are completely lost, I would invite you to go and do the Ed puzzle from yesterday, because in that Ed puzzle, I reviewed for everybody the following 5 rhetorical devices. If we look up rhetorical devices, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different things that we can say are rhetorical devices. And rhetorical devices are basically language or word ways that authors try and eloquently or nicely try to get us to see their point of view, persuade us to do something. Basically, they're, as my son put it, psych outs. So we're going to look for the top 5 here, which are repetition, similes or metaphors, and I put them together as one because they are, as I think I put it in the video, kind of like kissing cousins. They're very, very similar. Then there's allusion, the rhetorical question. My favorite rhetorical question was the one that my dad always asked me. You think you want to clean your room today? And I was always like, no, not really. Well, he did not like my answer to his rhetorical question. And then lastly, euphemism, idioms, or cliches. And I put euphemisms, idioms, and cliches together because they are similarly to simile and metaphor. Like I would say that they are not really identical triplets. But all cliches are overused euphemisms that are idioms. We'll put it that way. So they are very, very closely related. So when you see these, and really we could say that from now on we need to ask ourselves the following question almost every time we see anything that's in green or purple. What type of appeal is the author trying to make here? Are they trying to make a logical appeal, an ethical appeal, or an emotional appeal, or logos, ethos, or pathos? And I put it in here as logos, ethos, or pathos, even though I like to say logical, ethical, and emotional, because college professors really like to sound smart and they like to throw out logos, ethos, pathos, as do the anchors of Fox News. I noticed one of them saying that the other day, and he was like, well, this is an example of pathos. And I was like, I didn't know he had that vocabulary. All right. You go, Tucker. I'm just teasing. Tucker Carlson actually once was a very well-respected news anchor, and then he got hired by Fox News. All right. The next one is, what do they want the reader to think or do? So what is their goal here? What is their mission statement? Are they trying to persuade? Are they trying to inform? Are they trying to entertain me? All right. What are they trying to do? And then the last one is, does it work? So my dad's rhetorical question did not work. All it really did was annoy me. Like, if you want me to do something, tell me to do it. Don't ask me rhetorical questions. It's a very passive-aggressive thing to do, is to ask rhetorical questions. All right, and again, our goal is to put that evidence tag on there, that evidence tag of annotation, and answer the question, how does this evidence support the claim or develop the author's idea? All right, so quick review. Contrast and contradiction, in case I didn't mention it before. The strong textual evidence that we cite with that most often is going to help us to answer the questions, what is the author's purpose? And what is the central idea or claim? Okay, so by identifying these two, we should be able to say, this is what they're doing in order to show that they are going to inform me, or they're going to be entertaining me, or they're going to be persuading me. I had to go through the pie thing in my head. Or what is the central idea or claim? A lot of people have been very upset when they go to retake their quizzes on Common Lit, because some of the questions are two-part questions. One might be, what is the central idea or claim? And the next one is like, what evidence shows this? And they give you a list. Well, the thing is if you aren't able to identify the actual central idea or claim, then it doesn't matter what evidence you put with it, because you're wrong. So if I want to say that, let's go back to our analogy of the crime here. So if I want to say that the Shadow Man is our killer, but we all know that it's actually Mr. Mustard in the laboratory, it doesn't matter what evidence I have, because he's not actually the person who killed anybody, right? And that is how Carol Baskin is getting away with murder. She may or may not. But it's fun to talk about, isn't it? All right. So our quoted words and rhetorical devices are going to help us to answer questions like how does the author develop their ideas and what evidence do they use to support their claim. All right, so you can see how we start off with a little bit easier questions and now we're moving into more complicated ones. So our goal with the color coding is that we're able to quickly go back to the text to find the evidence that we want for specific questions. By using the color coding, we are making it easier for ourselves to know, oh, I'm being asked a question about what is the claim, so I know I should be looking for things that are pink or orange. Or I'm being asked what evidence do they use to support the claim, so I know I'm probably going to need something that's either purple or green. It's going to make it a lot faster for me to find that evidence. Because the goal is to cite that strong textual evidence and then to put that little tag on there that explains what the evidence shows with our annotation. All right. All right. So any questions about those before we do our Jamboard? Let me get our link here. Maybe. There it goes. I was like, this is going to be like that one day when all of them went down at the same time. That was awesome. All right. So let's quickly review what we're going to do for this activity because I did make a couple little tweaks here. What we're going to do today is I'm going to have you break into 2 groups, and we're not actually going to separate rooms or anything like that. I know some of your teachers are using the breakout rooms. I've taught online before. I've never had great experiences using breakout rooms. I've never had any students tell me that they love breakout rooms. So we probably aren't going to use them a whole lot, just so you're aware. So what we're going to do is we're all going to hop over to the Jamboard. There are 3 slides on the Jamboard. We're going to be working with the first 2 during this activity. All right. What you're going to do is based on the first letter of your first name, you're going to either be working on slide 1 or slide 2. So everybody who is A through K is going to be working on slide 1, and everybody who is L through Z will be working on slide 2. So everyone from Ariana to, let's see, Kamari are going to work on slide 1, and then everyone from Lee through Tier are going to be working on slide 2, okay? Your goal is to read the excerpt that will be on the slide, use the notice and note anchor chart that's there, and write an annotation for the excerpt on a sticky note. So, quick note. Yeah, we're going to go by first name, Gabe. I know that's thrown you a curveball with that, right? Because Gabe's like me. My last name in high school was Strecker. So we are like in alphabetical no man's land. We're always the last ones to be called for anything. It was always me and the Ziegler kid. The one that began with a Z. All right. So before I give you the link, I want to point out to you that the one thing I've changed is I've given you kind of a sentence starter here for our annotations. So the idea is that you are ticking off all the boxes that you would need in an answer for you to be putting into an annotation. So you're going to say, this is an example of blank. So you're identifying what type of rhetorical device this is for our purple. So you're going to say, for example, this is an example of an allusion, or this is an example of an idiom, or this is an example of a rhetorical question. And it's being used as and then tell me what type of appeal. An ethical appeal, a logical appeal, or an emotional appeal. In order to do what? To persuade, to inform, or to entertain. And then what are by doing what? All right. So if they're informing me, what are they informing me of? Okay. So that then brings us to our green one. So group 2, this one's for you. Your quote here, the quote is used to do what? Are they, again, informing, persuading, entertaining? What kind of appeal is this? Illogical, ethical, or emotional appeal? And why is it that? So if I say this quote is being used as an ethical appeal to support the argument that they are an expert in their field, then I would have to explain why that particular quote shows that. Okay? All right. So I'm going to give you guys the link. I'm going to get rid of the stupid pop-up that's in my way. Oh my gosh, really? 4 more. All right, Taylor, that's okay. Just kind of follow along with what we're doing. So the link is in the chat. I'm going to put up our main slide board here. So as you guys are moving over into the Jamboard, I'm going to start our timer. We're going to have 6 minutes to work on this. And we're going to come back and look for a 4-star review Post-it note that we can all use to copy into our notations. Alexa, stop alarms on all other Echo Dots.
9:20 a.m. alarm stopped on every Echo Dot.
Who the hell set an I don't know who set an alarm for 9:20 in the morning.
Alarm set for 9:20 a.m. tomorrow.
Why? Oh,
We just said who the hell?
my Echo Dot is setting an alarm for 9:20 in the morning. And I'm like, I don't know why anybody would need an alarm at 9:20 in the morning. We're all up and at work. But I can hear it going off in another room, and I'm just like, it's so annoying. What is that? Oh. All right, we have about 4.5 minutes left. And let's see how we're doing over here. We've got a Post-it note on our purple, so bless you. All right, this is an example of, what do you think it is, Angel? I know it's actually like a trick.
What'd you say, Miss Cass?
It could be one of two, actually.
Yeah, that's why I know the second half is rhetorical question.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of confused on the first one.
The first one I would say is an idiom.
Okay.
Because it's not so used quite as much as it used to be, but I think it's kind of changed. Like if you fall off the horse, you got to get back on is the idiom. But I've also heard it phrased, if you fall off the bike, you have to get back on.
Yeah. See, I thought it was a cliche.
It is kind of cliche. But like I said, that's why we kind of lump them all together. So you could say it's an idiom or a cliche.
Okay.
And be pretty safe in either one.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Miss Kells, I got kicked out of the meet. Can you send the link again?
Yep. I saw this invention, and I don't know if it actually works. But supposedly you hook it up to your computer and it gives you 2 extended screens. And I feel like I need that for days like today. Because I quite literally have 1 extended screen and I have like our class on one side on one screen. I have the presentation stuff on the other side on that screen. And then I have both of our jam boards on the other one. Like I could really go for a third monitor right now. I should take a picture of this so you guys can see what it looks like. Just don't judge the fact that my house is kind of messy at this moment. Ow. I'll email it to myself and then share it with you guys after you're done. All right, how much time do we have left here? 45 seconds. That 6 minutes goes real fast. Four, three, two, one. All right. That's our little chime. This is what I was saying about, this is the setup I have going right now. So you can see I have the two jam boards split on one screen. And then on my TV, that's my extended screen. I have our chat and our live class on one side and then the presentation stuff on the other. It's a little crazy over here. So that's why I said I could really go for a third monitor right about now. All right, guys. So let me make sure I have the right thing in the right place now. Don't work that one. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a look at our jam boards and our sticky notes. It looks like somebody's still finishing theirs up on the second one there. So we'll give them a second. We're going to come back over to green here in a moment. All right. So unfortunately on Jamboard, we don't have the option of a purple Post-it note. That makes me sad, but it is what it is. All right. So let's take a look at what we got here. We're looking for one that we can give a 4-star review. Okay, so the first one says this is emotion. It's an example of pathos because they are trying to play on our emotions to motivate, which is an excellent observation, but not a complete answer. So the next one says it's an example of a metaphor. It is technically a metaphor, yeah, and a rhetorical question. Good point. It is a rhetorical question. And it is an example of pathos used to generate an emotional appeal. Okay, so good job there, but we haven't talked about what it's actually accomplishing yet. So our next yellow sticky note, this is an example of a rhetorical question because it's asking flying off the horse. All right, so those three all pretty much say the same thing, just in different ways. Let me look at our big pink one here. Says this is an example of a rhetorical question and cliche and is used as a pathos appeal to the readers to appeal to the reader's emotion by explaining that life is hard and unfair and there will be times that you will fail. All
Miss
right.
Karis,
So
that
yes,
small one is the my second part. It wouldn't let me put all of that in the sticky note.
All right.
So the
It
pink
figures.
one.
Yeah, I think there's a slight limit to it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this one kind of ticks off all of the boxes. So we're going to give this one the 4-star review. The other ones, I would give you guys 3 stars on those because you guys got, I would say, 3 of the 4 boxes checked off there. They're good starts. We just need to add a little bit to them to get them to the 4-star. And that is like, what exactly is it accomplishing there? We can also say that much like in our own writing, this is used to hook in our reader to get them emotionally invested in the rest of the article, because this is actually from the first paragraph. But taken out of context, you might not be able to see that. Okay, so let's take a look at our green now on our second one. So remember, when you're copying over, you want to look for the sticky note that has the 4-star review, because that's going to be the most complete answer that you can put in. So I'm going to make sure that that's nice and chunky on this thing. I'm going to move this up here so you guys can use it as a template for your other questions. And we're going to move these out of the way of it, because I will be posting this along with the instructions for the assignment for people to make their copies. So let's go over to the side here with our green Post-it notes. We're going to move them over here so that they're not covering our thing. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, it looks like both of these are missing one little thing, and that is to explain what kind of appeal they're trying to make here. And that's about it. So they're both pretty good. I like the second one here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you guys, just because I think it's probably difficult to read it on your screens. It's like microscopic is my guess, because even on my big screen TV over there, it's not very big. All right, so it says this quote is used by the author because it provides her point of the power of the mindset. All right, so we're going to insert here, this quote is used by the author as what kind of appeal?
Excuse me. I was trying to say, I'm sorry. I know it's not about this, but all I gotta say is that my internet, it kept on shutting on and off, and I've been trying to let you know. It's just that every time when I was on it this morning, it was working. It keeps shutting on and off. I saw you mark me absent.
All right, we'll fix that after class, okay?
Okay, thank you. Because it was going crazy. I'm sorry.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save the little bit of edits that I put in here for this one. There it goes. So it says this quote is used by the author as a logical appeal because it proves her point of the power of mindset by showing results from her scientific study. It shows how someone won't, I think we might have to change the wording here. Won't very much change. I don't know what you're about to do, Kat, but he was looking at me like he was about to jump over here. Not a good idea. I think, how about if we move this to the other side of challenge themselves? All right. And then we'll give this one our 4 stars. So we all know that that one is approved. All right, and hit save. There we go. All right, so we've got 4-star Post-it notes for both of our examples now. So the last thing to do for the day is going to be, where'd it go? No, that's not what I wanted you to do. Thank you. That was our little 2-parter question. We don't really have time to go over. I'm gonna ask you guys to go to slide 3 on our Jamboard and add a meme or a GIF to our emotion meter to show how you're feeling about your notice and note nonfiction skills before you leave class. So I'm gonna pull that up and show you which slide it looks like. It looks like this one. So if you're feeling frustrated, your meme or GIF will go up into this pink area. If you feel like this is really easy, you can put it down here in the yellow. If it's so easy that you have zero worries about this and you're like, why do we keep doing this every day? You can put it down here in the green. If you're feeling lost, but you're not really frustrated, you're just a little confused, you can put it down here in the blue. As an example, I don't know if first period did theirs. Let me see. First period actually got on it and did it because we were running a little over. No, cancel. It's not what I want you to do. Nope, they didn't do anything for others. So I'll show you what 6th period did the other day. So this is their example. Somebody's isn't fully loading. In order to add an image, you're going to go over here to the little picture that looks like a square with the little mountains on it and just click on it. And you can either upload something you have saved, or you can go to Google image search and search that way. I might tell you right now, it's better if you do a separate Google image search because the ones that they have that go through these things aren't that great. But it, like, for example, if I put in confused, it's not doing a very good job. This is what I get. They're not the greatest memes. All right. I'm sure you guys, my brother has an entire folder on his phone that is nothing but GIFs and memes. And then when I go to his house, he airdrops them all to me. He is a GIF and meme collector. Just a whole new level of dork. That's okay because I love him. He's my brother. And I do it too, so. If somebody's is taking its time to load for me. All right, so once you're done putting your stuff on the emotion meter, unless you have a question, you are free to go. Internal screaming. I like it. Especially since it looks like the character from Fallout. Is that Kira Sedgwick in that one? Can I just say, Kira Sedgwick is married to Kevin Bacon. And like as a kid, I always liked Kevin Bacon because like he was like on the cover of all of the teen magazines. He was the heartthrob back then. Although I was like 8. But now as an adult, I enjoy him because he is just very laid back and sublime. He's like adult ASMR. We have a lot of internal screaming. So maybe I don't know. Maybe we won't do our quiz on Friday. Maybe we'll do something else. Because we might need to. I want to get everybody into the yellow and green at some point. It's a lot easier to do when we're in the classroom.